This chapter is on graphing linear equations, and you're going to be hearing the term linear equations quite a bit throughout this entire chapter. So linear equations are really just lines. So it's another name for lines. And one of our most important forms for a line is the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. And this is where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So the slope, this measures the steepness of the line, and the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. And this is the most important form for a line because you can really read that information from it and graph your line. And most of our final answers will be in this form. Now, in this section, we're actually going to be using the calculator to graph our lines. So we're not going to be plotting points. We can actually just use the calculator. But to use the calculator, we still need to get it into this form. And we're going to be using a lot of different buttons. So the y equals button, the variable button, which is xt, theta, and n, the zoom button, and then the graph button. So it says graph the following on your calculator and on the grid. So I want to first get this equation into the slope-intercept form so that y is by itself, because before I enter it in on the calculator, y needs to be by itself. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And y is going to be equal to 5/3 x plus 5. So now this is in slope-intercept form. So before this recording, I did the problem on the calculator, and I took pictures of the screen. So now I'm going to walk through those pictures. So on the calculator, we want to enter in our equation under the y equals menu. So press y equals, and then you'll have all these different y's where you can enter in a lot of different graphs. So we're just going to enter it in y1. So 5/3 x plus 5. To get the x, it's the xt, theta, and n key, or as I like to call it, the variable key. So then you should press zoom, and this is because we want to make sure that our window is correct. So if you go to the zoom menu and go down to 6, which is zoom standard or Z standard, what this will do is make sure that your graph is on a -10 to 10, -10 to 10 grid. So we're going to be changing our window a lot throughout this course, but we can always reset it back to the -10 to 10 standard window by pressing zoom and then Z standard. So this is what our graph looks like, and each tick mark stands for 1. So this crosses the x-axis at -3 and the y-axis at 5. So let's go back and graph it. So it crosses at -3 and then up at 5. And then let me connect the dots, and that's our line. And finally, just to point something out, we kind of knew that our graph was going to cross the y-axis at 5 because in our equation that was in slope-intercept form, whatever number is here, the b, that is the y-intercept, and our y-intercept was 5. So we kind of knew that this was going to cross at 5.